Welcome everyone to the Electrical Culture of Safety Livewire program, where we delve into all the complexities of creating a culture of safety within the electric utility industry. In each episode, we feature interviews with subject matter experts, industry leaders, safety professionals, and field personnel from across the industry, where we discuss ways to develop a collective reflection of the perception, attitudes, and shared experiences of the safety culture within our industry. Welcome to ECOS Livewire.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Electric Culture of Safety Livewire. Today, we're going to be talking with Alex Wakeland and going over his story, his Livewire story. I've met Alex on LinkedIn several months ago, and I've been reading his posts on LinkedIn and just going over as far as how he's thinking. Every once in a while, you run across those folks that think out of the box and they challenge the status quo, which that's actually one of the 4 ingredients to have a nice, safe line team, is to be able to challenge the status quo openly, and that's accepted. So I like where he's going. I like what he's thinking. So let me read his biography to everybody. It says, Alex Wakeland, I'm a contractor lineman and 3rd generation blue collar union worker. I've spent my career in the field, judged by production, not politics. And I use that freedom to advocate for frontline workers, especially in the utility and electrical trades. I work out of town most of the year, often on 70+ hour weeks. And I've seen firsthand how outdated systems fail the people doing the work. I'm passionate about building digital tools that actually serve us, tools that respect our time, protect our credentials, and support the next generation of skilled workers. I've been working closely with JNCTN, a platform designed to give workers ownership of their data and making credentialing seamless and tamper-proof. So he's been working on that. He'll be talking about that with us a little bit. I like the idea. As we evolve and learn from each other and take our best work practices and actually make better work practices. So Mr. Alex, welcome aboard, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Welcome. And like I said, I've been reading your stuff on LinkedIn, and man, it's refreshing to read that. And it's like camping next to a stream that has some waterfalls and flow to it versus a swamp that the water is just sitting still and stagnant and everything is decaying and you can smell the difference. And so I appreciate where you're going, man.
Yeah, I'm like I was saying a little bit earlier, I have this unique freedom as a contractor, and it's one of the things that draws people to the contractor lifestyle is I really don't have to be politically correct. I don't have to be polite. I can piss people off because I have the freedom to work anywhere in the country. If I piss people off in this state, I'm just going to go to another one. And so it's really nice to be able to have that. And I thought I could use it more in the LinkedIn setting because I saw a lot of fluff pieces, and they just read like propaganda. And I'm like, none of these people have any idea what they're talking about. And it really struck me as I'm one of those bridge generations where I grew up with a computer. I had a computer since I was in preschool. But when I came to the trades, nobody had cell phones. Nobody did text messaging. So I got trained by all those older generation linemen that like they're hard-nosed. They couldn't just look up the material. They had to know not only what they were doing, but why they were doing it. Because if they get in a pickle in a new situation and they knew why they did it, they can work backwards to figure out the how. Especially like you're missing this, you're missing that. How can we still do this safety, and why is it still safe? And if I can't explain to you why it's safe, then nobody's doing it because I don't believe you. So it's kind of that like bridge gap mentality that I had where it's like, this is what we want, but this is what we can do. So let's do what we can do and get to where we want to be. And so that's kind of one of the inspirations I got from starting to post on LinkedIn, is because I wanted to showcase that mentality of like, the guys in the field will get the job done. Regardless of the obstacles, we'll figure it out. maybe give us the tools to do it safely so that we'll do it that way.
Yeah, and not just safely, but your ideas, a lot of your ideas, I'm telling you, man, efficiently too. You're looking at efficiency, smoothness, and all those things, efficiency and smoothness, they actually create that capacity to where we have more safety and we can fail safely. So
there's a lot of that. A lot of our job in the contractor world is figuring out how can I fail successfully. And a successful fail is you may have broken some equipment, you may have lost some time, but there's no injury and there's no outage. And if you can avoid those two things, you can fix the rest. It's just, annoying or frustrating, but as long as the failure is not death, like it's an acceptable failure. For injury.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you started this industry. How long ago? Tell us how long you've been in line work now?
Yeah, so I've started back in 2008, which is a weird time to start because that was when everything was crashing. But I was crashing out of college, and I was going to be a psych major and with a minor in computers and technology, nowhere near the trades whatsoever. And I met my wife. She got pregnant. Her dad was a lineman, and I was like, I like that lifestyle. That's what I want. How do I do that? And I remember sitting around the dinner table. It was just me and him after everybody was done. And he was like, well, I'll help you be a tree trimmer. I don't know you well enough to be a lineman. And I was like, that's kind of rude. And, but I was like, okay, thanks. He's my father, soon to be father-in-law at this time. And I'm like, thank you, sir. I much appreciate it. Thanks for helping me get, on as a tree trimmer. And I learned my knots. I learned about working around power lines. I was a line clearance tree trimmer. That's a vastly underrated job, extremely dangerous. There's a lot of really skilled people in the line clearance tree industry, and they don't get nearly enough credit, but that's a whole nother story. So I got in, and then I worked my way up. I showed I was hardworking. I showed I would show up and I would do everything. And about a year later, he's like, okay, I know you well enough now. I'll help you become a lineman. And at the time, I still was like, man, it took a year to figure out that I could do this. Like, I've been hustling, I've been taking every overtime, all the hours, doing as much as I can. And I realized he was waiting for other guys to come tell him, yeah, he's safe. He's not going to hurt himself or hurt somebody else. And that was the tipping point when other people would say that about me, that he actually stuck his neck out to help me get into being a lineman. And now that I'm, it's almost 17 years that I've been in the IBEW. Now I get it. Because now, like, I look around and it's like, yeah, I know that you can make money. You can make money anywhere. You can't afford mistakes in this trade. You have got to have a spotless safety record. That's the goal. Everything else is fluff. And so that I do appreciate the hard-nosed entry path that I got that way. And then when I got in, he's like, he told everybody, be hard on him. If he's gonna fail, I want him to fail quickly so he can go on to something else. And so I had kind of an uphill climb for the first couple of years, but it was the guys making sure I had good work ethic, making sure I could follow directions, making sure I wasn't just memorizing a pattern and repeating. I was figuring out the whys behind what I was doing. And if I couldn't explain to them the why, then I would get in trouble. And I moved into my wife's hometown, which used to be a power company town. You were either a farmer or you worked at the power company. So I'd mess up at work and I'd hear about it on my way home when I called my wife. Then when I'm out mowing the grass, my neighbor was a troubleman and he'd come over and read me a riot act about what I did wrong. Then I'd go to dinner at my in-laws' house. My father would already hear about it. I'm getting it from him. Then I go home at night and I'm getting ready to go to bed, and my all bad instructor is right up the road. And he decided he's going to come down and tell me how bad I did. And this was like, I think I lipped off to a foreman, and they made sure that I never did that again.
Man, Alex, you had a lot of pressure on you, but
oh yeah,
but the pressure that was on you was so that you would be safe and
exactly.
you would do the right things. And so that criticism is very constructive.
Yes.
And your attitude as far as not taking it in the wrong way and being defensive and dismissive, you took it as learning. You took it as education, and those moments of education, you expounded and you grew from that.
Yep.
Not a lot of, I'm telling you, man, a lot of guys, they take offense to things like that and they shut down.
Yep.
And but
especially
you did.
especially after they top out and they're a young journeyman, I'd
Mhm.
say that is the most dangerous time in your career,
Mm.
because you know enough to be confident that you know something, but you don't know enough to know that you don't know stuff. And so there's that first 3 to 5 years after you top out, you have that ego about you. I made it. I'm a journeyman lineman. Look at me. I'm the best. And that's what you do. You go out, you seek out to try to be the best. And I'd say the best thing that happened to me is during that time period, an old lineman, Bill Buddy, he was one of my mentors. He told me, you need to go chase an education during this time. You're young enough. You can go places and make mistakes, and people will forgive you. If you wait and you become a 10-year journeyman and you're still making mistakes, people are going to write you off and they'll just stop teaching you. And so that's kind of what I set out to do. And I got to meet, some legends in the trade. They're not big on social media or Facebook, but like the Greg Ivies, the people they're just wizards on wire setups and stuff like that. If you go to big transmission projects and you say those types of names, they're like, oh yeah, I've worked with him. Good guy. There's like, we have our own little fame circle of guys that are like people you really want to go work with.
Mhm. Man, that's awesome. So with your background, 2008 till today, so you were amongst some in your environment, some great people as far as the old school. And then you come from that psychological background, you come from the computer background, and yet at the same time you're mixing that in with the old school. So there's a lot of renaissance here. There's a lot of new understanding and new light that your posts share this. Every one of your posts is a little different, but it's that new mentality that we really need to evolve in. And like you said, you're basically that bridge that's filling in that gap of change.
I think there's going to be a lot of revolutions happening very, very quickly with the advent of how accessible AI is getting. And one thing that I was good at, even early in my career, I could see a pattern and be like, oh, this is where that's going. And I could do that with the wire. I could do that with a job. And I can do that with trends that are just happening. And so that's what I paid attention to. And I'm like, oh, AI is getting bigger. Fake credentials. People are going to start faking everything because it's easy. Because I went to college and I'm dyslexic. So like cheating on a paper that you have to write, that's my bread and butter. I know how to do that. I'm writing the paper, but I don't know how to spell. So I have to like look up how to spell all these words and all that kind of stuff. So I figured out quickly how to utilize computers to really speed that process up. And in doing that, you can speed up cheating. And cheating, right, wrong, or indifferent, is very, very efficient. So that is something that like I saw as a pattern happening with AI. People were going to start cheating the system. They're going to start gaming it. They're going to start figuring out ways to bend the truth enough so that they're not lying, but they're not being truthful in the intent. And so that's with Junction. The way I found them, they were actually doing something very similar to this in New Zealand already. And I was looking for a solution for the industry. And so I reached out to them and I wrote a 4-page paper to their customer service line. Just, do you have any comments or questions? I was like, yes, I do. Come on. And I just typed out the whole idea to the best of my ability and sent it to them. And this is about 5-6 years ago. And I got a call from a very confused customer service lady. And I talked to her for about 3 hours. This is my idea. This is why we need it. This is what's going on in our industry. And they passed me up to the chain to their chief customer's office, Dan Stemp. And I got with him and I started telling him the way we do things over here. And he's like, we haven't done that since like the 90s. And I'm like, yeah, I know. We're very far behind. They had like one universal book that was all your credentials had to be in this book. It all had a standard format across the entire country. And I'm like, we don't even have that. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we're just emailing stuff and throwing guys in trucks and taking off like before they're covered on insurance because the power company's saying we need you there in 4 hours and the contractor wants the money. So they run the gamble like, I hope this guy doesn't have a DUI because I'm sticking him in a truck and sending him. And then the next day comes up and they're like, well, you do have a DUI. You can't drive. Good thing you didn't get in a crash on your way. And it's like, there's got to be a better way. So I was like, computers and connecting these databases in a privacy preserving manner, that's the way to go. You could make it so that unions could not only enforce their rules, they could protect their jurisdiction, protect their dues, protect the workforce. If there's a grievance, they'd have all the records right there and available. And the power company and the utility, they can enforce, we want to have this type of crew on site. We want to have these type of training metrics in order to do this type of activity. Like all of those things become quickly possible with this solution that Junction has. And I'm just really excited to get it in front of people and start showcasing that. Right now we're doing a pilot up in Michigan with one of the locals. I don't know how the disclosure agreements go, so I don't know if I can name names, but we're doing one with a local up here, and we're going to be running that for about a month to make sure that there's no bugs or kinks or anything, and then it's going to be available for everybody else. So it's a super exciting time. I think things are going to be changing really fast over the next couple of years. Like I said, with AI, innovation is going to explode, and it's just trying to get that new age thinking to be able to bring the old age with them, because paper documents aren't going to die overnight. All the credentials and skills and things that these old timers have, they are invaluable. But if you put them on a job and they're head to head against a 20-year-old, that 20-year-old may be more productive 90% of the time. But that 45 to 50-year-old, he's the knowledge that's allowing that 20-year-old to be that productive. And it's really hard to measure that metric right now. In New Zealand, with this technology, they can actually measure that. They can say, when we put this much experience with this much youth, these are the results. And they've had fairly good studies done now where they were building a road and a section of the road failed, and they were trying to figure out why did this section fail and that section didn't. And they went back and looked at the metrics, and they're like, oh, we had twice as many apprentices on this section as we did on that section. And they're like, so this crew makeup is more productive and safer, so this is now the standard. And they can do all that working backwards, whereas right now we have no way of doing that, especially across the industry, across multiple different companies, multiple different utilities. It's just it's a nightmare trying to track all the paperwork from my end at the bottom. I can only imagine how hard it is at the top, and I'm only taking care of me.
So Alex, everything you're talking about as far as crew efficiency and how this program, this digital program, can affect and measure and gauge, that's quite extraordinary. And honestly, man, this is, like you were saying earlier, this is like change. This is going to change how we look at the crews. Yep. And how we look at our jobs, and how efficiency and safety can be improved so much better by bringing the right combination of people together.
Yeah, and I really think this is not just the workforce of the future. This is how society will be in the future. And that's another cool thing, because you could say, if you work in the utilities, you get this tool, which is Junction, and you can use it for work. You can also use it if you want to buy tickets at Ticketmaster. We'll validate your driver's license for you. Ticketmaster never needs to have your driver's license. So I don't know if anybody follows data security as closely as I do, but Ticketmaster had that huge data security leak where they lost everybody's data. This would stop that from happening. It still allows those checks to take place because you wrap a rule set around it. So a utility, Ticketmaster, or a school could say, if you want to come through this door, you need to have these qualifications and be this type of person. And our system checks it and just gives them a green check mark or a red check mark. And it doesn't even have to tell them why. It's just, you're not allowed to be here.
Yeah.
Nobody knows why. You can go fix it on your own. And that preserves your privacy, but it still allows those checks to take place. Because this whole time that, especially since I've been growing up, they're data harvesting, but they're doing it under the guise of safety. They're saying, I'm trying to make this place safer. I need your driver's license. I need your credit score. I need this. I need that. They don't really need that. They just need to know, do you meet this threshold to be here? And that's what I want to do for the electrical industry, because right now, especially with storm, it's so chaotic. You're throwing sometimes tens of thousands of people onto this system. They've never been there before. You have no idea who they are. The power company has no idea who they are. You could be out on an ice storm with truck drivers and plow trucks from all over the country. And this would be a way to track those people, know who's working safe, who's not working safe. And you don't have to tie those metrics to individuals personally to where they could be targeted. It would just say, you have not reached this threshold of safety. You can't come here. You improve your safety score, we're more than happy to have you.
Yeah, so that brings up a couple of things that I've recognized in the industry. One of them is the fact that if somebody is working unsafe, a lot of times the utility contractor, they'll fire them, and then within 24 hours they already have another job. Yep. And nothing's changed. But another thing is, and this is kind of serious, and I know you've seen this before, is a lot of that allows, now think about this, okay? A lot of that allows the leadership that's firing these people to escape accountability themselves.
Yep,
so
they just scapegoat.
Yeah. So the leadership you could have in your organization is actually your root cause, and not necessarily that person that you fired, but the root cause leadership that continues.
Yep.
So
I've seen that firsthand. Several times.
Yeah. And I see it too. When I go around the country and train, I see it all the time, and you can feel the vibe. You can feel the vibration of bad leadership for sure. I mean, it's so simple. It takes just minutes sometimes to recognize these things, right? So so you've got this program. You're gonna share it in Michigan. That's awesome. How can we evolve even to the next step to where leadership through this program can become accountable? How can we take it to that next level?
So that's a very good point. And I've thought about this a lot. And what it comes down to is, if you tell me to go do something and I know it's sketchy and you know it's sketchy, and I say, okay, I'll do it, but you told me, all we have is that verbal agreement. But now if I say, I'll go do it, you told me, I have a record of you telling me to go do this thing. Whoa, now it becomes serious. Now my ass is on the line if you get in a jam. So now your leadership is going to have to start saying, yes, I authorized you to go do this activity that I've listed. I put you in this harm's path. Here's all the things I'm doing to keep you safe. And here you can prove it. I can scan the truck and see that, because Junction works for more than just people. It can work for equipment. So if I scan the truck and it says it's had an oil change, it's got all its stickers, it's DOT approved, it's got the mud flaps it's supposed to, all the stuff. It meets all the requirements. And I meet all the requirements. I got my CDL, DOT physical, yada, yada. Okay, cool. That's a good handshake. I get in the truck and drive off. But if I get there and I scan the truck and it says, hasn't had an oil change in 10 years, the boom's never been inspected, there's no liner, it's like, I'm not driving this jalopy. You're not putting me in harm's way. That way they can't just go, oh, that's not the truck I told him to grab. I told him to grab 786, not 7912. And it's like, no, you told me to get in this one. I have a record of it and I have proof. So now you're the problem. Plus, you can also track those metrics of, this guy is they're firing somebody after every single incident or accident, but the incident or accidents aren't changing. I think we can deduce who the problem is. And so you really get to see those patterns. And really, that's at current state, that's what AI is. It's massive pattern recognition across huge data sets. But you're only as good as the data you get. And Junction verifies that the data you're getting is the truth. So it's just, how much is the truth worth to you? Because I can give it to you faster through this process than anything else.
Man.
What you do with the truth, that's your profit.
And can you handle the truth?
Right.
Right.
People are going to be very upset when they start seeing a lot of the truth that comes out, because I'm all the way at the bottom. As a contractor lineman, I'm several steps removed from the utility. I'm several steps removed from management out here. Nobody even bothers to lie to me. So I hear the truth. I see what's going on. Oh, why don't we just put this back on the shelf? It costs more to restock it than it does to throw it away. It's like, that's super wasteful. They're like, yeah, it's just the system. Okay. Huh. And then other times they're like, why are we just sitting here doing this? Well, they pay by the hour. Well, yeah, but can't we do something? That's not your job. That's their job. Okay. Like that type of mismanagement, the people that should be fixing it are inadvertently profiting off of it. So that's where you have this, that's where I've had the most pushback on this program, because I'm trying to get the people, like I said, I'm coming from the bottom up. So I'm trying to get the people that are profiting off of these problems to fix them for the good of the trade. And it's like, I kind of need to extend my reach. And that was the other reason why I started posting on LinkedIn and TikTok and all my other social medias, was I was trying to get a further reach. Talking to the manpower, everybody wants it. I've not talked to a single guy out here in the field who enjoys paperwork. We don't want to do it anymore. We want to do it one time, have a record, and move on. But paperwork is what runs this liability machine that we have in this country. So we understand the need for it. Well, why don't we do this? And all the guys out here, oh, it's great. I love it. I get 1 or 2 levels above them, and they're like, the workforce would never do that. They're never going to put all their data in one spot. I was like, when's the last time you filled out a new hire packet, bud? That's 10 years of my life. I got to fill out every time I do this thing. And then I'm emailing them to like 6 different people. They print them off or shred them or do whatever. I don't know what happens to them. I've had my identity stolen 4 times that way. Secretary just emails the new hire packet to the wrong person and boop, it's gone.
Yeah. Wow. So you mentioned pushback. So let's talk about that pushback a little bit.
Yep.
Because this basically what you're talking about is, this helps open up communication. It kind of forces the communication between employee A and employee B, upper management to maybe that journeyman. It kind of forces that communication, which I really like it. So you're kind of forcing the idea of forming what I call a line team. Backdooring it.
Yeah, essentially.
So the pushback, because a lot of guys and gals, they're not into the fact that we need to work together unified and on equal ground. A lot of folks like their ego, they like their position, their titles, their pay, whatever. And so
they want to build a little castle.
Yeah. And so this destroys little walls, little castles, little kingdoms, and it brings us on equal ground, which that's what a team is. So talk a little bit about some of that pushback, because you've been working on this for how many years now?
Personally, I've been working on it for 10, and me and Junction partnered up about, I met them about 6 years ago. And so for 2 years, I tried to give it away. This is a great idea.
Wow.
All I got to do is tell the right person. They'll have a big budget. They'll be connected. They'll take it and run. That's what I thought. So I emailed the international hall. I emailed my own hall, a couple other halls, and they said, well, you show me somebody else using it and then we'll use it. And I was like, okay, I got to find a contractor. So then I went to them and they said, well, if my competition doesn't have to pay for it, I don't want to pay for it. I said, okay, fine. I'll go to the utility then. So I went up there and they thought, well, this benefits you guys more than it benefits us, so you guys should pay for it. I'm like, you could just tell them to pay for it, but they all have to pay for it, and then it would be done. And they didn't even realize that they could do that. I was like, you're the customer. You can do whatever you want. You can just say, this is a new safety requirement, and it would just be. So then I had to figure out, okay, that's not going to work. So now I'll go through safety. So I started studying how can this make people safer? And actually in New Zealand, it's called the Stay Alive Competency Tool because it measures workforce competency, not just certification levels. Have you done all the things to make you the most competent worker possible? Because in New Zealand, you can't sue a company, you sue the CEO. If the CEO has things in place that make your job dangerous, the CEO will go to jail.
Wow.
So they're very serious over there because they're like, I will spend the company money so that I don't go to jail personally, which is it's a really cool metric and it leads to a lot of innovation over there. But anyway, that's side story. But so then I started studying how does this make people safer? And I bought into what I call propaganda safety, which is all of the slogans. Safety first. We care about safety more than anything. You know, they say that over and over and over again, and then they come at you and say, by the way, we moved the deadline up. Can you guys work all night long? And you're like, what happened to safety? If it's that much of an issue, just turn the power off. Oh, we can't do that. Why? Because it'll cost too much. It'll take too much paperwork. I was like, okay, then don't lie to me and tell me safety's first, because if you tell me safety's first, I'm gullible enough to believe you. Yeah. And to me, safety is number one because I'm the one actually doing it. These are my two hands. I do care about safety. So when they say safety starts with you, that's really what they mean. You have to be able to push back when it becomes a safety issue. And so that's what I started doing. And I started pointing that out and kind of ruffled a bunch of feathers when I did point it out. And I got a little angry and almost quit a couple times because I was like, nobody gives a shit about safety. This program would revolutionize safety across the board. Yeah. And then I kind of took a step back and thought, okay, these are businesses. How can I make safety make money? I was like, all right, that's going to be my angle. Not only will it make you safer, it will make you more money. And so then I started looking at the new hire packet, which everybody hates. And that was originally what I set out to fix. And then I was like, how much do those new packets, how much does that cost? What's the cost to a company? And how do I fix that issue? And I'll tag the safety onto it. And then I'll solve both problems by solving the margin issue. And so I looked at the average hours it takes to hire a journeyman lineman is about 10 hours. That's average new hire paperwork in the contractor world. At the utility, they'll do it one time. They'll work there for 20 years. I can't fix that, although I do think the program is more streamlined and efficient, but I don't know enough about it to dig into it. But the contractor side, I know that very intimately. So it takes 10 hours of my time to fill out all this paperwork to get onto the job. Then the secretary has to go and gather all of my information, verify all my information, get all of my PPE ready, make sure that I am slotted and available to go into the right crew so now they can plan for me. And they have to do that all in a hurry up because I'm at work, I'm coming. And this system would allow me to take a call at the hall, press a few buttons, all my information's there. It's already been verified. So now I turn that 10-hour process into maybe a 2 or 3 hour. So it's like somebody's coming back from vacation rather than a brand new hire. And you can already say, oh, this is all his qualifications. We'll send him here. We'll send him there. Then if the company says like, oh, we got a project coming up and we need somebody who's helicopter certified. Why don't I just go ahead and search all my employees that I already have, see if any one of them has helicopter training. Oh, cool. These guys have it. We can send them on this project. And that would save untold amounts of people and an estimated, just on the jobs that the IBEW says that they're starting this coming year, around $4 billion. So this program would save that much. And I was like, wow, that's a big enough problem to fix. Then I found out that $4 billion problem to fix is $4 billion that go directly into the people's pockets that I'm trying to convince to do this program. So I'm essentially asking them to cut their own pay to make this program happen. I was like, well, that's never going to work. Now I have to figure out more problems I can fix. And so I just keep collecting these problems, and I'm like, well, what's important to you? I will fix that problem. You want to have more diverse workforce? I can show you how to find them, target them, see where they fit, see where they don't fit, see why they don't fit, because you'll have that data available, and it'll be anonymized. So you're not like picking on one guy and following him through his career, you'll just see this guy with this demographics and this age group, you know, he bounced around like this. That area is probably a problem. We should go do some training there. Mm-hmm. Same thing with safety. You could say, you know, all of the companies across our utility, these contractors are reporting this type of safety incident in this area. We can go there and do targeted specific training for that, and we don't waste our money on training that doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And so those type of metrics start becoming possible, and it's not just in theory. This is currently happening in New Zealand. It's compulsory. Everybody in the electrical industry of New Zealand uses junction. They can't use anything else. And so their junction is fairly cheap. It's like, I think it's less than an hour of the worker's time per month. It's very cheap. But the benefits that they're getting off of that, they're, just for size comparison, they're about the size of like the 5th largest utility in America. They're saving around $50 million in training costs because they were double training people that already had the training, but there was no record from contractor A to contractor B. Wow. It's the same guy. He had this training. Why are we retraining him? Just move along. And then, you know, we're bouncing around so much out here, like it's hard for us to make sure we get our first aid CPR training. But if you had a metric like this, you could say, I understand that you're getting first aid CPR training at contractor A. We are going to pay contractor A 50 cents an hour for everywhere you go and use this credential. So now contractor A, they don't have a cost sink in safety. It becomes a profitable endeavor. You could have contractors lining up, trying to train the workforce because they're getting incentivized. They'll get a paycheck. When I go to contractor B and I'm using my first aid CPR, contractor B could just route some money back to contractor A for training the workforce. And that's going to be a huge metric because there's so much specialized stuff coming up in the line industry. There's going to be drone pilots. There's going to be at-home computer inspectors. I've done that job before. There's going to be helicopter, highline, bare hand. All of those things are becoming more and more popular, but the smaller companies don't have the budget to build a training facility, and the large companies don't want to train people that are going to leave. So now we have a bottleneck for training. But let's open that bottleneck up. Let's make training and safety profitable for the industry. And we could do that with this system.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. So
I've been obsessively thinking about this for like 10 years. I can't turn it off.
I couldn't tell. No, but you know, it's a passion. You're finding in essence, you're finding a new energy source.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, it's a new energy source, and it's an energy source that hasn't been developed, hasn't been shared at all. And you can tell that this is going to answer a lot of issues, a lot of dynamics that you've been concentrating on and thinking about for 10 years. That's actually, it has been missing. This has been missing in our trade. The accountability part, and verification, the focus on training, everything. And then all that leads to a safer workforce. Exactly. As a byproduct. Like you said, it's not that safety is number one. No, it's you're focusing on connecting with each other. And then the byproduct of connecting is a safer workforce.
Exactly. And you can have immediate trust. If somebody walks into the room and you scan his junction ID and it says, I've had 0 OSHA recordables, I've had 40 years experience, I've worked this, I've worked this, I've worked this, I can immediately trust that guy. Conversely, if somebody comes in and just tells you those things, it's like, maybe. I want to hear it from somebody else first. But this gives you that. It's almost like a trust me, bro, he's good, but for all of your stuff, everything. So if I show up and I say, yeah, I have a CDL, and you scan it, it'll just tell you that, yeah, I'm good to drive a CDL. It won't give you my home address. It's not going to give you my driver's license number, so that you, not only do you have trust in that, you also don't have to pay to secure that personal identifying information. So now we can start making it cheaper to hire people this way because we can lower cybersecurity insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We can make your workers instantly insurable on your driver's insurance and your commercial's insurance. So it's like a lot of like the Samsara cameras that they put in trucks. I've studied that a little bit too, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody was really upset when they got there. There's some privacy concerns, things like that. But after they put those in the trucks, I was talking to one owner and he said that program cost me $100,000 a month, but
Wow.
it saves me $200,000 a month on my insurance. So I save $100,000 a month by having those cameras in my trucks. I'm never taking them out. That's going to be what this program turns into. We will be able to save you money, and you will have a faster, more dynamic workforce. You will be able to outcompete everybody else while also having a safer workforce. It's really hard to get this level of change because I equate it a lot to when cars took over horses.
Mm-hmm.
Cars could not overtake horses. You had stable boys that didn't want it. You had families that raised horses. You had hay production. You had manure spreaders, all kinds of people who relied on horses. But they still eventually fell to cars when cars became 10 times better than a horse. And so my goal, I had to make this program 10 times better in every single way. And until I could understand from all angles, from utility to contractor to individual to safety, until I could understand how it was 10 times better for all four of those players, it was never going to go. And so that's what I've largely dedicated the last 10 years to. That and working a whole bunch of hours.
Yeah, man. It sounds like to me that working all these hours and then thinking and developing this at the same time. I mean, are you still married?
Yeah, I'm still married. She's a saint. She is holding it down at the house with 4 kids, and she's doing a phenomenal job.
Mm.
I am lucky beyond belief. Her dad was a lineman. I think that gave me a little bit of leeway and a little bit of forgiveness.
Yeah.
I am definitely ready to start coming home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right on the cusp because, you know, like I said, 2008 is when I got in. I had student loans. She had student loans. And I was bound and determined to pay those off and also have a family. I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to work a lot. So she stayed home with the kids in the beginning, largely because I was okay, I will work all the hours so that we can raise our kids the way we want to. And I was very fortunate. I have amazing kids now, and it's almost 100% because of her.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I was very fortunate as well that when we had our first daughter back in 94, I don't remember, but anyways. Yeah, it's about 95. But anyways, I was very fortunate. My wife was able to retire, and she hasn't needed to work. And I tell you what, having the wives home with the kids, like you, my 3 kids, they are freaking amazing, and they're very successful in what they do, and they have their heads on straight. Mm-hmm. And your wife, and this is. You know, we're kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent, but having a good wife at home, like you're talking about, Alex, your wife, man, I'll tell you what, that and supporting you and supporting your work and doing what you do and your dreams, and basically this has been a dream for a long time.
Yeah.
This is, man, and look where you are today. And basically, you could kind of give your wife. Even though you're the source of all this, hey, she's the catalyst.
Oh yeah. If it
right?
wasn't for her supporting and listening to me, like I'm speaking like this now because I've spoken like the wrong way with her. I'm like, we need to do this, and she would come back devil's advocate, like, well, that costs money. Who wants to spend more money? I'm like, man, you're right. Yeah. All right, I got to figure. And then I come back, I found the solution. This is it. And she's like, no, that won't work because of this. I'm like, dang. All right, we back. Wow. Now I got to rock my kids to sleep while practicing speeches that I was never really had any intentions of saying to anybody else. So, you know, I got to sit there and talk out my plans with the kids.
Nice.
So they've been hearing about this for years. And speaking of kids, like that's one of the things that's actually helped me figure this out too.
Yeah.
My son's about 15 now, and he's grown up with data security, internet safety, all of those things that they were in its infancy when I was growing up. And to them, they got taught that at school as well as at home. So they don't want to give out information online. They don't want to tell people how old they are. They don't even want to tell people their real names. They have synonyms.
Yeah.
Fake
yeah.
names. Sorry. They have fake names that they use online so that people can't track them because that's what they were told to do their entire lives. And it's like, oh, this is not only an important thing to me, this is important for the next generation. These are the tools that they're expecting us to make on their behalf because they want them and they expect them to be there. And so this type of a tool would allow high school students to say, I want to be a lineman. They can go on there, they can click on lineman. It'll give them an easy checklist. Go do this, go do this, go do this. Okay, I did this, check it off. Did this, check it off. Did this, check it off. Okay, apply. Boom. Yeah. One button. You can apply, and then you can get picked up anywhere in the country you want to go. And you could just use the app to do all of that. And that type of seamless digital integration is not possible at the moment because no company has a single language, if you will. They all have their own application process or their own recruiting agency. And I want to take the people and make it so that I, as an individual, can use my data the way I want to, anywhere I want to. Because even if I don't work at all, my data is still valuable. I am still producing some type of value. Eventually, what I would really like to see is Junction turned into a social tool that is just provided to everybody, and people pay for the access to the data, and we share that with the people producing the data and kind of democratize profiting off of data, because data is now more valuable than gold, but nobody has figured out how to loop in the individual to be like, I want my piece. And that's like my super long-term vision that I hope I someday get to, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, you've going back all these years, 10 years ago, going through all this and even further, because before you came up with the idea, you had to do the discovery in the things that you were seeing as far as, like you brought up, the propagandas. Mm-hmm. And once you recognize and identify the propagandas and the fluff, as you say, then you can work on solution. And this is a great solution. I highly recommend that you share this, like on LinkedIn and the lineman safety tool competence group and culture of safety groups on LinkedIn, and share. There's a lot of influencing people on there that make decisions, big decisions. And your idea it's long, like you already know, it's long overdue.
Oh yeah, it's super long.
We're behind. We're trying to play
way behind.
Catch up. I mean, it's amazing what you're talking about. The things you see walking through a facility, and when you walk through a facility, like if you're doing training or working at a facility, you can just look and you pick up all the red flags. It's like, oh my gosh, and the condition, the cleanliness, the organization. The organizational skills that are being applied or not applied, how the crews feel inside. You can look at their faces and see if they have well-being or not. You can see it
100%. And the people are always the weakest link in a security system. And what Junction does is it allows the system to remove that. Now, instead of people being in charge of the security, it's just permission. Am I allowed to be here or not? No? Okay, then leave. And it would just do it automatically. It runs all the time. And it allows those individuals to feel empowered, because if I want to leave with my data, I don't have to worry about the company not giving me my credentials or not allowing me to leave. That's mine. I have that training. So now I'm empowered by my training rather than trapped by it. And I did see that firsthand when I was a kid. My dad worked for an aluminum manufacturer. And he could run cranes, fork trucks. He was a master mechanic, hydraulic certified, like the whole gambit. And he was only certified at his factory. So if he wanted to leave, he couldn't take any of his certifications with it. He'd have to start all over. And
They weren't really his.
less. Yeah, they paid him less than what he was worth because he was trapped there. And I watched that my whole life, and it was I was always confused why he stayed. And he was like, I don't want to start over. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've got 5 years to retirement. It is what it is. I was like, all right, well, I get that, but it's not for me, Dad. I can't get trapped like that. I can't build myself a cage. And so I'm just trying to unlock that cage for as many people as I can, because that's where the empowerment comes. If you as an individual feel like you can be heard, you can be seen, and you have value, you're going to take a lot more initiative. You're going to be a lot more productive, and you're going to be a lot more fun to be around.
Yeah.
And that's my goal. I'm here for the people on the ground. I don't speak like a CEO. I'm not very politically connected. I come from very humble beginnings. You know, my great grandfather helped start the coal miners union. My other grandfather helped with the Teamsters union. I grew up listening to stories about lead-filled baseball bats and like running trucks off roads and sabotaging equipment to protect your work. And it was like, they were hard-nosed. And then my dad, he reaped all the benefits of that generation. And then when I came in, my dad's generation is still in charge to this day. A lot of them haven't retired yet. And so they haven't passed on the torch, which is not what I'm upset about, but they've stopped innovating. They've stopped pushing forward in a lot of areas because they're like, I'm just hanging on to retirement. And it's like, I totally get that. And change is scary and change is hard. And you don't want to be the guy who upsets the apple cart 2 years before you hit retirement. But we still need that innovation. We still need that young energy and the new mindset of technology to help inch things forward. There's always room for progress, and I'm always relentlessly trying to pursue that. I want to be the best lineman I can possibly be. If there's something I haven't done, if there's a new technology coming out, I want to be the first one there to learn it from the horse's mouth. I want to see it. It's like the TS conductors that's coming out. They have a factory. I'm trying to actually set up a visit so I can go there and see, how do you dead end this? How do you sag this? What are things you got to look out for when you're working with this wire? What are the things that are nice about it? What are you claiming is nice versus what is the field saying is nice? Because they're going to be totally different things.
Yeah.
And I want to get to those type of jobs where I can see that type of stuff happening. And then I do a lot of TikToks where I'll record it and I'll try to put together like a short training video of, here's this cool trick I learned. Here's this cool tip that I have. And I put it out there, and I get a lot of flack for it. You know, the guys at work, they kind of give me a little bit of shit, and then they help me with the video. So it's kind of a give and take. But like, I get so many apprentices that are like, oh man, I never even thought about it. No one showed me that. I built just a wire basket for guy wire, and like half the people were like, this is genius. And I'm like, you can buy these. I was making a joke because I had to make one out of tie wire. And they were like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And other guys were like, oh, we use tire chains. And I was like, tire chains? That's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? So it's like you get to share those ideas with people that feel like your buddies. And technology has opened those doors, and it's not being utilized, especially in the line industry, because I mean, we're not an aged workforce, but we are an old-minded workforce. We tend to fall back to, this is the way my dad did it. This is the way his dad did it. This is the way I'm going to do it. Like, I mean, you probably were. I'm sure you were around when the fall arrest started. I was just getting into the trade, and the fall arrest was new. It wasn't required, but it was new. And they were like, we would like you to use these. We'll provide them if you want to use them. I jumped on it right away. I was like, this is awesome. I can't fall. Perfect. Everybody else, even though a lot of the young guys were like, I don't need that thing. It slows me down. I'm like, it only slows you down because you're not using it. If you use it, you'll get good with it. Then it won't slow you down.
That's right.
And so now it's mandatory across the system. And there's about 50-50 guys that got in around the same time I did, where they either love it or they hate it. The guys who love it are the ones who adapted, picked it up, said, this is the future. This is where it's going. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and learn this. The guys who hate it are the ones that they fought it. They didn't want it. They drug their feet. They went without it as long as possible. And now they're reaping the benefit, or they're reaping what they sow. They're having trouble adapting to the new. And so I feel like if you if you have that hunger and that passion to adapt as quickly as possible to stay ahead of those things, it'll just make you a way better lineman and a way better person to be around, because you always got something new to talk about.
That's
hey,
right.
Did you see this new tool that came out? Like, I got this this fuzzy finger from Utility Line Solutions, and I think it was like the first or second edition of it. A lot of guys were like, it's got too many fuzzies, it's hard to put in there. But I've never dropped a door since I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Every door I come out stays on the hook. So now I can have my pogo way out, and I can flip it up, put it in there way faster. And they're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. It's like, yeah, it took a little practice, but It's new and it's innovative and it's working.
Yeah, we get that a lot of times with our tools. Our tools are more innovative, and the technology in our products are ahead of these old things that are still out there. Mm-hmm. And again, just like you're saying, your point is the folks, they get these tools that are just amazing and so much better than what they've ever used, and they don't want to learn, which doesn't take long, to use it a couple of times, and you learn how to use it, how it functions, and they'll put it in the closet. Yeah, and they'll still use the old wooden boxes, and it's like
crazy.
They're not as safe, they're not as efficient, they're way slower. They don't give you the real time, and they just don't take just a few minutes just to learn how to use that new product, just like you're saying. So they won't.
I know I keep looping back to junction, but I've studied this ridiculously. So one of the things that I think would be beneficial is when new products come out, you can make a certification saying, I know how to use whatever the new product is. You can issue that to people through junction that have gone through training. So now when I show up and there's the box you're talking about, I can say, not only can I use it, I can prove I can use it. So go get it. I don't want to use this old thing. I want to use the new thing because that's what I'm trained on. Yeah. So now you can kind of force the industry to adapt, because you can say, hey, we have this new product, and everyone's like, yeah, that's great. This one's working. We'll just stick with this one. It's like, no, I have this new product, and I have 150 people on your system trained right now, certified to use it. All you got to do is put it in their hands. That's a totally different conversation with the utility. And that is so much more powerful.
That's good. Yeah. Not just the products, the tools, as far as maintenance and being certified, and all the training skills and product skills and your equipment.
And it protects the integrity of the company too, because if you say, I am trained on this, and you go and use it and it breaks, you can be, it's the product. It's trash product. I knew how to use it. It's broken. But if you show up and it's like, you've never been trained on this? Nah, I thought I could wing it and figure it out. Well, next time just ask for training. This is what you should have done, and it wouldn't have broke. Yeah. Okay. Like you start to be able to develop those things, and it stops, because I've seen really, really great products go out in the market, used incorrectly. Oh, this is terrible. We'll never use this again. Those are banned forever. And it's like,
it's true.
You banned them from people who didn't know what they were doing. That's why it's banned now. And so I really, like I said, I've been collecting problems for years and years, because I just like to fix things. That's one of the things that made me a great lineman. I love to look at what's broken and fix it. The power's here. We need it there. This is broken. We fixed it. I love that. It's my favorite thing to do.
That's awesome.
And so I just kept finding more and more broken paths and trying to figure out, how do we fix that?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So Alex, how can somebody reach you? How can they make contact with you? What's the best way that you prefer?
So the fastest way is probably just to reach out to me on TikTok. I have the largest following there, so I make sure to respond to everybody. But if you search just my name, I'm very public on all my socials. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I really enjoy that area, because I can just like write my thoughts and my paper out and then go from there, it's kind of like an idea dump for me. I have an idea and I have a thought, and I want to get it out somewhere so that I can move on to something else. That's where I'll do it. So I'm very active on there. You can reach me on there. all the time. And then, yeah, like any of the socials, any of that, you can email me. It's also just my name at iCloud. So I'm a very simple guy, simple ways to meet me, simple ways to grab me. And then we also, Junction itself has a website, www.jnctn.us. It's not, we couldn't afford the .com, so we got the .us. But
that's all right.
If you reach out on there, we can show you live demos. Like, we're not selling vaporware. We have an actual product. We can show you it working in New Zealand across the entire environment. It's scalable. I think during COVID, they scaled up to across, it was 10,000 people across 600 different companies in 2 weeks. So that was their ramp up. So they have the ability to scale very quickly and integrate with a lot of systems. So it's just you can find me anywhere if you're looking.
Okay, so a lot of us older guys, we like those emails. So Alex Wakeland at iCloud.
At iCloud.com.
Okay, so that'll be good. And then some folks obviously are on the social medias. Alex, hey man, you've shared a lot. Your ideas are wonderful, innovative, and like I said earlier, Renaissance, man. We need this Renaissance movement in our industry so badly, and I believe this is a good starting point as that younger generation bringing that new technology into our old school thinking.
And you really do have to bridge those two. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That old school thinking, that's what we're trying to preserve, because those guys know how to do stuff that a lot of these new guys have no clue how to do because they've only done it the new way. And so it's a delicate dance, I think. And I'm very blessed to be at the age I am with the experience I have to be that bridge. It's an honor, really.
Well, your wife is very fortunate that she's married a good dancer.
I think I'm the fortunate one.
Well, that's probably
She's
true.
a saint.
But hey, thank you for coming to ECOS and sharing your live wire story. And maybe this is, it's not maybe, but this will catch on. I see your vision, I feel your vision, and it's real. And it, like you said, it's truth. So maybe in 2026, the end of 2026, we could get an update. And
for sure.
You're going to have to spend more time on this as this starts spreading. I see this spreading like wildfire. Once this catches on, it's not going to stop, and you know that.
Exactly. And it's a really unique movement because it's coming from the bottom up. This isn't a corporate initiative saying you will do this. This is the people at the bottom saying we've identified the problem, we've identified the solution. It's your turn. Nice. Do you care about us? Because now you can prove it.
Yeah, that's true. It gives you proof in every direction. Exactly. And we need that accountability from the top down and from down up. I mean, we need that accountability, and that's what, like you said, it builds that trust factor, and we need that, the brotherhood and our sisters. We need to be able to trust one another. This is great. Yeah. Appreciate your visit, brother, and thank you so much, Alex.
Yeah, you too. I'm happy to come back.
Thank you. Yeah, you take care, and bless you, man, and your family and your children.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.